Three, two, one, and we are live on the TikTok. And now I'm going to check the audios. We are live on the Bullhorn app for those following along over there. Live on TikTok, live on YouTube, and now live on Facebook. Everything's all good across all platforms. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the 100 Proof Whitetails podcast. My buddy Clayton stopped by. Not Nate, Clayton. He's a twin. So he stopped by. He hasn't been here since. The only thing I had on the bar at the time was the bar topper last time he was down here and the rack, the main rack, but none of the selection. I kind of overwhelmed him a little bit down here tonight.
There's a lot going on.
A lot of stuff going on. So yeah, and he's wasn't too big into bourbon until I just poured him a couple and I corrupted him.
Definitely a different flavor out there.
Yeah. It's better than just your simple Jack Daniels or whatever. So you had the Cooper's Craft 100. That's what you still got. You're still working on that one.
Yep.
We did try a little smidge of Russell's 13, and then I pulled out the Russell's 10 because that's one of my go-tos. And, you know, if you like the 13, I'm pretty sure he's going to like that 10 too. So, and it doesn't break my heart to pour a little bit more of it, but it's always meant to be shared with everybody. So, but yeah, so it's a good time. We got hunting to talk about. How'd your turkey season go?
Good. I ended up, shot at Jake, settled for it, but we got out there and we got it done.
So, got after him.
Yeah.
How was the turkey numbers where you were at this year?
So earlier on in the year, I had a whole flock of them, had a bunch of them, but they seemed to scatter. Couldn't find myself a tom. I know I counted 6 early on in the season, but for some reason I just couldn't find one on the property I had permission on. So I ended up settling for a couple of jakes we had our eyes on, and it's been a few years since I got one, so it just it feels good to get one.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and it was tough, dude. I mean, at the farm, the only thing I called in this year was jakes. Wasn't any longbeards to be had. Let them go, hoping they're going to make it next year to be, nice 2-year-olds to chase after. But my buddy Nate, not your brother, my buddy Nate Pierce was nice enough to let me shoot one over at a piece that he's got permission on, and then we went out and he got a jake as well on a different piece of property. He has more permission than me. He's such a good friend that lets me hunt with him. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Nate. And thank you, Liza, his wife, for letting me steal him to go chase birds in the first half of May. Really appreciate it. But yeah, so we're talking hunting, fishing, all that kind of stuff. Last week we were live from the boat.
Yep.
Catching lake trout. Well, Jesse caught lake trout. We didn't. But talking habitat stuff tonight. I know Clayton and me were talking about a few things with his food plot he's got going on. So we'll talk some food plot questions, stuff like that. As well as whatever comes in through the comments. And that's why we do these live. That way folks can, drop in the comments, what you guys want to see us talk about on these. And again, thank you guys for tuning in, whether you're on the YouTube, Facebook, Bullhorn app, or coming on the TikTok as I'm getting hit in the hand with a stink bug. It's live. There's no cuts. There's no retakes. I'm going to pour some of this Russell's just because I can't. I can't not.
Yeah, I'll take a little bit.
Okay, you take a little bit. That's fine. I know you got a little bit of a ride home too.
Yeah.
So that's why we just nice little half-ounce pours. Keeps you out of trouble.
All right.
But that Cooper's, I mean, you could put the Russells on ice too. That's completely up to you, man.
We'll try it.
That's up to you. I'm not going to tell you how to enjoy your whiskey. But so new food plot. You got a new tractor, new toy.
Oh yeah, it's been useful. I got a lot more bush hogging done in a week than I've done in a year. Definitely a key tool to having a bunch of land.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I'm excited maybe to potentially grow the food plot. I got some spraying down. I got a little bit of mowing done. So pretty much going to get ready to either broadcast some seed or maybe another spray depending on what comes back up.
Yep. Gotcha.
So
So for that first spray, you just go with a Glide, or did you put 2,4-D in with it too?
just glide,
Just Glide.
straight
Okay.
glide. Yep.
Yep. Yeah. So
So
you can mix that 2,4-D. If we're doing like a fall planting, which is what you're doing, right? You're
yep.
not going corn bean, so you don't
No.
have to worry about that soil residual with a 2,4-D in your mix for your spray. But yeah, no, I think you got a good head start on it. And the only reason I'm not getting after mine right now is because my plots are holding and looking so nice from last year. I'll be posting some more stuff up on them in the next couple of days. I just got back in town. I've been running around busy all crazy the last couple weeks, dude. It's been a nightmare. But yeah, so mine are going to stand just because I want some pult cover in those plots. We don't have some of that kind of early mixed vegetation stuff for that, so I want to have some nice brooding habitat because I got a nice mix of grasses and grains and some clovers and stuff like that in them. So there's a lot of room for the little babies to move around in and that bug and all that kind of good stuff. So that's what we're going to do with our plots, kind of let them float for this time. We were going to switch to corn, but it looks like we're just going to switch it up and go cereal grains. We can't do turnips because we went too many years of turnips.
Okay.
So we ended up with a fungal issue in our turnip plots. So that's why we always say to keep rotating. But I've been experimenting with this mixture that I've been developing the last like 6 years. So
Yep.
I only got so many plantable acres.
Yep.
So it kind of just got overloaded with turnips. Ended up with a fungus issue. So now I got no turnips for the next like 3 years on most of my fields. So
Wow.
so it's going to be clovers, cereal grains, maybe some corn and beans next year. But it's not really breaking my heart because I mean the next 15 days we got no rain forecasted still.
Right.
So if I had corn or beans in the ground right now, they might dry out. I know there's already stuff cracking in some ag fields I was walking today. Um, so a lot of stuff happening. I think whatever. Guess we're not on TikTok anymore. It booted us. Talking about hunting and killing things must be.
Do you have a certain percentage of, say, the land you have that you want to have a food plot in, or is there, kind of just what you have available?
It depends. I wouldn't shoot for like a specific percentage or whatever necessarily. Um, One thing that I would say is no matter what, make sure it works from your access standpoint with the property. You don't want to be walking through your plot if at all possible to get to stand locations and stuff like that. So just kind of keep that in mind. And then other than that, it's more important about where it is than how big or what it is because of the access. If you're putting pressure on the food source, if you're blowing stuff into the food source or around the food source, um, you're going to put added pressure on it. You're going to push deer off your property. It's going to be more of a repellent than just an additive or a bonus on your property. So, a lot of times I tell folks that, and if you have a full acre field, only do maybe half of it and leave some of it kind of brushy and woolly. I know with your piece, you just have little plots carved out in kind of some old field habitat.
Right.
And then you can mow little trail lanes if you want to do that coming into it from like a bedding area or a wood block or something like that. You can play around with it, and it doesn't have to be a perfect square.
Right.
With Onyx and those kind of softwares now, you can just put your tracker on or draw it out, and you can get your accurate acreage, so you know how much seed to put down.
Right.
And that's one of the cool things that I can do with mixing the blend I got for folks is I can get it specific for your acreage.
Right.
So you're not overseeding it or not having enough seed for the food plot. So all that stuff is just a bonus with it. But yeah, so I wouldn't say it has to be a certain percentage by any means. Um, I would just say your location and your planning for it is more important.
Okay.
But if you could put in a couple half acres, on a piece of property, you can do really well. I mean, I think right now we have about 8-ish on 200 acres. So I mean, if that gives you kind of a breakdown, that's what 4%, not even.
Yep.
So, but we work really hard at our native habitat work, all that other stuff. So we got a lot of other food on the table too. It's not just the food plots, but it's more coming back to the specific locations that work for the way the property is laid out and designed.
Okay. Now
So,
you mentioned bedding areas, access trails from bedding areas. How close do you want to get to a bedding area with a food plot?
you could, I mean, it all depends on how it lays out, but with a lot of that, you can put it pretty close to the food or, to the bedding. Um, as long as you can get maybe in between it or behind it, depends on how it lays out.
Okay.
Um, Topography, habitat types, all that's going to kind of influence and change the way that fits together. Um, but yeah, you can have it right on top, or sometimes it might be um, coming through an area of, like we said, field area that you can hunt a spot. That may be a little pinch or a bottleneck or a trail you cut into it. That's between that bedding and that food. It just kind of depends on how it all lays out. Sometimes it lays right up next to, the start of a bedding area or a wood block. Um, as long as that works for your access, that might be where it, lays out. There's no, you know, do step 1 through 3,
Right.
put it 100 yards off the bedding, and it's right there. It's just you got to, read it a little bit, but always think about it. If the deer was up there with a gun, would they be able to see you or shoot you or whatever? You start hunting them a little different.
Right.
So that's a good analogy I tell people. And if you were trying to, you know, sneak around an area with something that was shooting back at you, you wouldn't be walking across your wide open food plot.
Yeah.
You'd be working around the sides and the edges and stuff like that, or where you got cover, building a screen, wall of bushes, cedars, whatever it might be, to get into those spots and, help you out with it. And you'll see more success from it just from the access side alone. That's the biggest thing, and that's the biggest issue I see on client pieces is the way they access and the way they hunt it. It's the hunting strategy more than the habitat side of it that I see most of the time. So, and I know you got, what do you say, a little over an acre
Uh,
between the two?
I probably got about an acre, maybe an acre and a half
Mm-hmm.
total. Depends if we can make it to the third spot or not. So.
Yeah, well, you got plenty of time. I mean, you still got, today's the last day of May, so you're looking at probably mid-August-ish to plant. So you got plenty of time, man.
Okay.
Plenty of time with it. I wouldn't be worried about that at all.
Just know years in the past I've been a little late, so I wanted to get a jump on it this year and make
Mm-hmm.
sure I get something established that it's gonna take.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, we'll try the TikTok live again. I don't know if this will work. We'll try it. I don't know. I don't know how this thing works. I'm not that fancy. So, but yeah, no, other than that, man, like turkey season, turkeys kicked my butt this year. The one I ended up getting, I lucked out on. So, but sometimes that's how it is. Sometimes you hunt them hard. Sometimes you kill them off the roost. Sometimes you just kill them on kind of dumb luck at 10 o'clock in the middle of the morning, and they did the wrong thing at the wrong time for you.
Right.
I don't know. But yeah. So I'm ready to move on from turkeys. I'm ready to see little baby turkeys. I've seen plenty of fawns this last couple weeks on the out and about, putting the miles on my boots trying to find birds. A lot of fawns. And again, um, here's the yearly reminder for everybody is don't pick up fawns, don't mess around with the fawns, nothing like that. Take a picture, take a little video, show your wife or whatever. But just leave them be. Their mom didn't abandon them. That's how they get them to survive is, that separation when mom can go off and feed, come back, and then that way, they increase their chance of survival without having the human influence on them. And, because mom might leave them alone, might not come back to them. Or if you take her away, she can't find her fawn because the fawn stays where the mom puts it. That's how they're meant to survive. So, daily, yearly reminder for fawns is, take your picture, don't need to touch them. So, but they are cute as a button.
Oh yeah, they are. I've been
So,
keeping an eye out. I know I had a couple of does around that. I'm pretty sure they're gonna have some this year. So.
and you got your stuff knocked down a couple weeks ago, so you're in good shape right now, where you're not worried about running over or anything like that. And so,
Right.
and that's the other reason why I'm not too crazy about wanting to get out there and go hog wild on my food plots either, is just because I don't want to hit turkey nests. I don't want to hit fawns. Definitely don't want to hit fawns or turkeys. But there's rabbits, there's nesting songbirds right now. There's a whole bunch of different things, um, that you could mess up, this time of the year for them having their babies and stuff. So, but if you got out there, got a good head start on it, got your corn in, beans in, starting to prep like Clayton is for his fall plots. I'm just gonna let mine go a little bit, let them go a little fallow, and then I'll hit them when I got closer to the time being. So, but that's what we're doing. Talking that, taking questions, comments, all that stuff. I saw somebody on TikTok chimed in earlier, asked where we're from. We're from, I guess, Upper Finger Lakes region of New York. If you're familiar with New York, Rochester, and Syracuse, we're kind of smack dab in the middle of it. He's a little closer to Syracuse now.
A little bit.
And I'm a little bit south of where we grew up. But we grew up in Clyde. If anybody's known Clyde, probably not. Other than the people maybe watching on Facebook or something that are friends with us on Facebook stuff. But yeah, so this is the first time I've done an episode live on TikTok with the podcast at the same time. So yeah, so for anybody tuning in, we take questions as we go, as they come in on YouTube, Facebook. We do it on the Bullhorn app as well. That's what lets us take it across all the platforms. And then I got the phone linked up for the TikTok side of it. So, but it's just a good time, and we're here having a little bit of bourbon tonight. We got Russell's 10, what we just poured up. I'm ready for a sip. I've been talking too much.
Yeah, let's take a taste.
Cheers. Cheers for everybody at home.
So that's good too.
You done with the Irish whiskeys yet?
Close to it. That's a good one.
Yeah. Dan Morgan comments in, how's it going, guys? Going good. Going good. Just having a little bit of whiskey, talking a little bit about habitat, hunting, all that good stuff. Talk turkey hunting a little bit, food plots a little bit. Take questions and comments as they come in from folks. That way, if anybody's got any questions with anything like that. But I guess one of the big questions I get from folks is like, where do I start with a food plot? Like we talked about in the beginning, is access is the key with that, with the design and how it's located. But other than that, you gotta get your soil test, get your lime and fertilizer right, and everything like that. And then figure out what you're gonna plant. Or if you plant in just a cool season annual, first time plot, that's what I'd recommend. Whether it's a turnip blend or a cool season grain like wheat, rye. You could even do like oats and clover, something like that. But there's a lot of options. But I typically would lean more towards an annual, that first plot, rather than a perennial clover. That way, if you have like problem weeds or a lot of grasses or sod in that plot, that's going to keep you from getting your max yield from those fields. So, Chris comments in, says, I like oatmeal. Hey, whatever, man. Whatever you're grouping on, go for it. Yeah, actually, speaking of the oatmeal, and then if you have those cereal grain plots right that you planted last fall, you could have them maturing and bolting right now. You got that wheat seed head, and deer will literally walk past. I've seen them do it, walk past a bean field to seek out that wheat head when it hits full maturity, gets a protein bump, and they chew it up, and it looks just like oatmeal falling out their mouth. So, good segue with that, Chris. Good comment. Dan Morgan also says, nice buck in the back there. Thanks. That's a buck I killed a couple years ago with the bow. Outlaw. Ended up getting best buck for New York Outdoor News that year, and yeah, that was the one that I shot the year before, which is a heck of a story.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
I know you've mentioned a lot of soil testing, and that's probably where a lot of people are at right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what are they looking for when they're taking that test? Where do they want their results? I know it probably all depends on what they're planning, but what's a good range, to shoot for?
Yeah, so I use Whitetail Institute tests mostly. You can use your local ag co-op. Here in New York, we can use Cornell Cooperative Extension. They also provide soil tests and can get your results. Unlike Whitetail Institute, they're pretty straightforward. They'll email you your results back very quickly. I mean, within a week of you sending it out, you'll have your results back. So what I would do with a sample is I would go across the plot, take um, 8 or 10 shovelfuls of dirt, put it in a 5-gallon bucket, mix that around really well in that bucket. That way you get a good composition of that plot is across the whole entire field the best you can.
Kind of want your whole average of the whole
Yep,
plot.
you want to get that average because a lot of guys will just go where stuff's growing really good. Or maybe that back corner that's a little wet. I don't want to be in that. I want all that stuff mixed together in that soil test to send it away. Comes in a little baggie, and then you can send it right out to the lab. There's a little fill line right on the bag, which is super convenient. Put it right in there, postage, and just send it off. You got your results back in less than a week. Shooting for right around 6.5 is what I like to shoot for pH with lime. You can get away with 6 in most cases. As long as you're above 6, you're in pretty good shape on the lime side. And then fertilizer is just getting so darn expensive. And I'll say this, I guess, if it'll make sense. The closer you can get your pH to 7, the more your fertilizer is absorbed by the plants. When that pH is lower, your fertilizer isn't as readily taken by the plants. So what you can have is a lack of ability of that fertilizer to work. So you might put the right amount of fertilizer down, but if your pH isn't right and it's bound up in the soil, it can't get to the plants. So that's where a lot of folks, kind of got to juggle it. If you can, like I said, that's why I usually shoot for like a 6.5 or a 7. That way it doesn't completely break my budget. And then your nutrients vary. You might need 200 pounds of nitrogen or 200 pounds of potassium or whatever. And that'll all be specific based on what your soil comes out at. So there's a lot more to it, different macronutrients and stuff, or micronutrients and stuff like that. But if your basic macros are pretty much in check, and you can get them with a relatively, decent application of fertilizer, you can have real successful plots, and you don't have to, go out and buy a bag with a big buck on it and stuff like that. You can mix your own seed. And that's why I started doing it with mine is, I got tired of a lot of the coatings and a lot of the added inert matter and stuff like that. Weed seeds and some of the stuff I was getting. So I just started mixing my own blends, and that's why I do a single blend right now that I've been working on. I'm working on a clover blend this year that I'll be hopefully putting out next year. But the brassica crimson clover blend that I do primarily, I have 33 acres worth right now to sell this year. So, yeah, and I've paid for it all up front. So right now I'm sitting at a negative. So we'll see. Hopefully it'll move. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to do with it. But Chase comments and says turkey population down in New York too. Yeah, I mean we're low. I mean in some areas of New York, Finger Lakes I think is kind of low compared to what it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
10 or 20 years ago we were much higher turkey population. So it changes. It varies a lot with everything. Different habitats, different amount of hunters. That's
Right,
huge.
right.
Predators, your habitat. There's a lot of factors to it. I think with turkeys, there's a lot of it in New York is death by 1,000 cuts where there's not a lot of them.
Yeah.
Which makes it hard, and I get it. Farmers got to make a living. We've talked about this on the last few podcasts. A lot of people have been asking about the turkeys, and I guess it's kind of been all over, the country. The kind of numbers have been dipping a little bit, unless you got a big private farm or something like that. And even if you do, I mean, case in point, I mean, we got 200 acres, for our family piece, split by a road, so it's like 110 on one side, 80-ish on the other. I couldn't find a longbeard on it. And you would think that 200 acres of well-managed ground that was there, just wasn't. And none of the neighbors shot birds this year either, so don't know.
I know we got a kind of a big topic on spring turkey. When it comes to fall turkey, what's your view on shooting hens to kind of limit the hen population? I know they're the ones that lay eggs and go out there and make it happen, but what's if you have 60 hens out there and 3 toms, what do you do with that?
I want to hunt where you hunt, where you got 60 hens running around.
I
Jeez. Yeah, that's almost getting to the point where, it should be better. You wonder why the male population hasn't, caught up with it. Just from sheer numbers standpoint. I mean, you got to think 50-50 are going to be toms versus, hens. So that's hard. I mean, it could be a lot of hunting pressure because that's all that gets killed, for the most part. Or a bearded bird in New York, or bearded bird. I mean, you could shoot a bearded hen in the spring too.
Right.
But I think fall's down to one bird now for the state. So, um, my point is, and I've had a chance to shoot bearded hens. I've had, numerous chances, and some of the neighbors decided to shoot them. I saw it as our numbers have been dipping for the last 10 years. If you shoot one, you kill 10. That's kind of been my, rule of thumb with it. But if you got 60 hens running around, um, in the fall when you can, I don't know if fall is bearded bird. I think it's still an either sex bird for the
I believe
fall.
so.
One bird though
Yep.
for either sex in the fall. I don't hunt them much because it usually overlaps the bow season. So, um, I just know the dates that way. If I'm out there and a nice, gobbler walks by, I might try to take a poke at him. I've never even got a chance to draw my bow back though. Turkey in the fall. So, but yeah, I would look at your population. Um, and those mature hens and stuff like that are going to be the ones that, help the know where to go. The ones that have survived several winters here in New York. I mean, this year, the last 2 years haven't really been normal winters, I guess we'll call them here for
Right.
us. But they've been really light. But eventually, dude, we're gonna get hit with a whopper,
Oh yeah.
and it's got to come at some point. Um, so that's my only downside right now is not having a lot of not having like standing grain corn or whatever, for the wintertime for turkeys and stuff like that. Winter's really tough on turkeys and birds, in general. So, but yeah, so I'd say we're down for turkeys. Barb comments in and says hi. Barb over at K&M. Got K&M special right here. Russell's Reserve. They usually got it on the shelf if I'm not buying them all. Barb says can't find you on TikTok. I find the videos but not the live. I think you have to slide over to the live tab side of it or something. Um, hey, look at that. Just as I'm saying it, Barb says found you finally. Thanks, Barb. Appreciate it. Um, but yeah, so we always shout out K&M. They're over in Newark. Um, that's where I'd send anybody. Their bourbon selection is hands down one of the best in the area. Definitely worth the drive if you haven't been out there. They got a phenomenal case for nicer whiskeys, and then they got a whole slew of your Jacks, your Jims, Evan Williams, your daily or bottom shelf stuff. And then you got a whole lot of other stuff going on with it. So uh, termination will ensue if the user does not end live video in 5 minutes. Well, apparently we're violating community guidelines. I don't know why.
Hmm.
So everybody on TikTok, if you're watching this, we really appreciate it, but they're gonna terminate me. I just literally got a little notice down here in the comments section. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna shut this off so I don't get banned on TikTok, but feel free to head on over to Facebook or YouTube, 100 Proof Whitetails. Thank you guys for checking this out, but I'm gonna sign off before I get banned or blacklisted or whatever the heck it is. I don't even know why. I don't think they give you a reason. So thanks, guys. Check us out over there. Goddamn, TikTok's worse than Facebook. I didn't know if I'd ever say that. I wonder if that's what booted us the first time. We had 265 viewers on TikTok, threw up 63 likes, 4 comments,
And then they took us down.
and then they took us down because we're violating community standards. I don't know. Maybe it's the drinking on there. I don't know. They didn't give us a reason. They just said we're going to be terminated if I don't shut down in 5 minutes.
Hmm. Well,
Whatever that means.
I
I don't
I
know.
don't know.
I don't know. So, thank you guys for tuning in over on the Facebook side of stuff, where at least they're not pulling on our content yet.
All right.
So, yeah. And remember, only drink if you're 21 plus.
Yep.
Cheers.
Man, that is smooth.
Yeah, I can handle me some Russell's 10, dude.
I think I might have to pick myself up a bottle of that.
Yeah, so you also had the Coopers,
Yep.
which you're going to be looking for in New Hampshire.
Oh yeah.
If you,
I think I like that a little bit better
yeah,
still.
yeah. If you find it, I would say it's definitely worth it. And we said that too, that if that was around here, that would really challenge my 10 is my kind of go-to for daily pour, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Um, but they don't distribute in New York yet. We'll see if that changes, but I think they do because New Hampshire usually has better distribution than New York for whiskeys, believe it or not. So, so we'll see. If you can find it up there, let me know.
Yeah.
And that's the 100 that you were drinking.
Yeah.
This
That
one.
is.
And they have it in Pennsylvania. So if anybody is also going to Pennsylvania, you can find that down there. But that's what we had tonight, and both of those are right around like $35 plus tax. So probably running about 38, $40. Um,
No, I would recommend it. That's for sure.
yeah, I'd pick up 2, 3 of them. I had never had it before when we bought it. When me and my wife took that trip down to Kentucky, we actually bought that one in Virginia, and gosh, dude, I was like, I never had it. I don't want to buy more than one, and now I'm like, dude, I should have bought a case of that.
Right.
Like, it's really good. I mean, I know Barb's looking for it over at K&M for it to come up on the distribution list so she can order it in because that's a great bottle.
Yeah.
Barb says, "What is it?" It skipped on me. It's the Cooper's Craft 100. I know it doesn't distribute into New York. I've talked about it with Mark before and Barb and Nick that it doesn't distribute here for whatever reason. So get on your distributors, see if you can get it switched into New York. I don't know how that works with licensing and
Oh
stuff.
man. Well, when it does, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. But until then, you can find it in Virginia, Pennsylvania, I think New Hampshire. Um, it's a great bottle. Um, and it's not gonna break your bank. And dude, they had cases of it sitting on the shelf.
Wow.
Dude, it's a real killer. So, but yep. Alrighty, what do we got here? I don't know. Just seems really sluggish tonight. I don't know why. Kind of skipping, glitchy. Maybe it is my internet. Maybe I should listen to my wife and reset my router. Don't tell her that, even though she's probably watching at home. But yeah, a lot of stuff with that. I actually got to reach out to a guy that planted the seed last year to see if I can use him on the bag because he took a really nice harvest picture with the plot and the turnips and the deer and his daughter. So I'm like, dude, like that would be perfect for the bag for the seed.
Oh yeah.
And then right now it's just beautiful clover, crimson clover, in the food plots. I mean, just looks like.
Wow. Oh yeah.
I mean, it's gonna probably not show up. I don't know why I'm even doing that. So stay tuned on the Facebook side of stuff, but I mean
Man, that looks nice. Wow.
it's a
Well,
haze of red. It's a sea of red.
well, hopefully mine looks like that next year.
It will be if you put the mix in it. And like I said, we can mix it up for your plot, measure them out specifically,
Right.
make sure it's the right amount because that's a key thing too with specifically we'll look at crops like corn or brassicas. You really need to hit that pounds per acre close so you don't overcrowd, overtax your soil, because you'll stun them. You would think that more seed is better, but in a lot of ways, you would almost want to be a little light rather than a little heavy with your seed with like corn and turnips and brassicas and stuff like that, because they just compete with each other. They don't do well with the competition.
Now, when you're measuring that, I know I've used the Onyx map
Hmm.
before. Would you trust that, or would you get out there and just walk it, measure it with a wheel, or anything like that? What?
Yeah, so usually what I do when I'm measuring plots is I'll put up Onyx, hit the little locator. There's like a little X with a circle on it for your location.
Right.
Hit your location, and then down on the bottom there's a tab, and on the far right it says tracker.
Yep.
Hit your tracker, turn your tracker on, walk around it,
Okay.
um, and walk it on the outside of what you've done, tilled or whatever. That way you get the full representation of the outside. When you get to the end, hit end your track, and then all you do is hit your little tools, draw area,
Right.
trace your little trail you did, and you can do it if you want to do it quicker. You can ride it with a four-wheeler too. I do that all the time, or a tractor. Um, but that way you can get your acreage right, and I found that it's spot on.
Wow. Okay.
So we found that out last year when we were planting corn on a client piece. Um, we subbed that out to a much bigger farmer who works fields right next to it, and he can get his big equipment to it, which was a ton easier. So we subbed that out to a local farmer, and when we measured it out um, after the fact, because he was only supposed to plant 5, but you know how that goes. He puts another row pass in with the big planter.
Right.
It turns 5 into 5.5 really quick.
Yep.
So, when we got the bill for 5.6 acres, the landowner was like, "Well, I thought we were planting 5." And he's like, "Well, go measure it." And so I drove around the outside with Onyx, and guess what? 5.62 acres.
Wow.
They know how much it is when they got that planter going in that big tractor. They can just go, yeah, 5.6 acres.
Wow.
So I would say that Onyx is spot on with it for sure. So um, Russell comments in. It says, Russell's. Have you had it yet, Russ? Or are you waiting to come up to the bar? Because we got a couple to choose from. I hope you haven't been waiting on it this long. I hope you found one. But yeah, so yeah, Onyx for tracking it out, tracing it out. As for seed costs, um, this year it's going to be 25 for a quarter, 40 for a half, 60 for a full. And then custom blends are priced based on, what you need for your acreage. So, and the main drive of that is the clover seed on it. You know, that's the only thing that pushes it up over like a normal, like $35 right now for a half acre of turnip from other brands. So I figured 40 is pretty close, and that way, I get the clover cost in there covered too. So that's where I'm at. I mean, that's what it's going to be is, 25 for a quarter, 40 for a half, and then 60 for a full acre of the mix. So yeah, I don't know what you think on that. Pretty decent.
Oh yeah. I've shopped around, and that's especially for a quality product, and that's definitely something that I'm gonna choose for sure. So,
Yeah, hand sorted, hand measured, hand seeded.
you definitely know you're getting what you pay for.
Yep, and
So,
every seed's documented in there. All the seed batches that I got that came in, all good, no noxious weeds, no other issues like that with them. That was the first thing I was checking was my seed tags to make sure that the seed that came in was good seed before I even started, measuring it out. So it'll be available purchased through me. It'll be here at the house. And if you're looking for a retail location to get it, da, 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 da,
uh-oh.
it's going to be at Heritage Outdoor Sports in Phelps. So any of their normal hours of business, you'll be able to get your quarter, halves there. Just because of the spacing, I can't put full acre bags there, but the quarters and half acres will be there, and custom blends on, request. And with that, there'll be a sign there that you can get a hold of me, and I'm 2 minutes from Heritage, so it's not much farther. But definitely hit up Mike over there at Heritage. I was over there shooting summer leagues yesterday with Nate, Jake, and all those guys. Keith, who shoots with us too, and Tim. Actually, it was the first time shooting an actual full league score since Winter League when I tore my arm.
Yeah.
So felt good to get out there and shoot some arrows. Bow's turned way down. I call it. It sounds like a woman's bow when it goes off. It's got that really kind of hollow light kind of boom. So
But at least you're still out there, you're not overdoing it, and you're still getting the muscle memory down. So.
yeah, it's 51 pounds.
Oh yeah.
And I ended up actually shooting the top score of the group too last night. So I got to shake some rust off. It's not where I'd like to be hitting them score wise either, but it was enough to knock out the top spot. A lot of mosquitoes down there. With this early spring and not a hard frost, we got definitely a lot of mosquito
Oh, yeah.
population. So they'll carry you away down there. So make sure you got your thermocell and your bug spray down there for sure.
How's the ticks been out? I mean, I haven't really seen any yet this year, but I know they've been coming on quite strong around here lately.
Yeah, I got only two I took off during turkey season. Um, which I treat my pants and my upper layer and my vest with permethrin. I spray that down before season starts, and then I do a refresher about mid-season, right about when I do for that first wash after sweating in my clothes. Um, I'll do a retreat after that, even though you don't really have to. Let it air dry out, all that good stuff, and then um, I usually don't have much issues with it. The couple I did have, they were right around my belt line, so I got it between my shirt and my pants or whatever. But shed season this year was actually really bad with how warm it got, how quick it got,
Yep.
and the thick brush and cover that I have to go through in a lot of my shed spots. Um, the one section particularly, dude, was getting just disgusting to walk through. The dog was fine. He's got his chewable or whatever. I don't trust the flea and tick collars. They don't work worth that shit. You got to give them the nice, good chewable or whatever, Brovecto, I think it is. Um, that's what we found works best for the dogs. And he had like none on him. He was freaking
Good.
clean. And the way that one works is they bite him. It's in his bloodstream with the chewable, and then they fall off dead. So, um, but yeah, no, it wasn't bad with turkey, but like I said, I treat stuff a lot more, and I usually treat my shed hunting stuff. But dude, it was so warm. I was running a t-shirt most days when normally I'm running a hoodie,
All right.
and it greened up and thickened up so quick. In some of the areas we've done habitat work in, and the ticks were just piled in there because of the thicker cover. There's some areas like I walked through kind of on the edge of that during turkey season, and you can't see it. It's a wall of green, which is beautiful. Good habitat, good quality, growth coming up in those spots that we've done some TSI work and timber harvest and stuff like that. But man, it is just thick and nasty, and that's where we found majority of the sheds this year, and that's where we found the ticks this year. There was one day I picked off, 15, 20 of them,
Wow.
which is crazy because normally we don't get any
Right.
at the farm. Um, but it was primarily just that one, the heavy TSI sections where there was a lot more low brush and you know that brush line within 6 feet and under is where we found most of the ticks this year. So some of the other stuff, more open stuff, and didn't really. But I actually did find shed number 17 for me this year, counting bears. Um, just out happened to be turkey hunting and walking through the middle of the woods, and I came upon a scratched out area in the woods, maybe the size of the bar here, and right in the middle of it, laying tines up as a nice little side off of a little 8 point.
Uh,
Boop, right in the middle of it.
so
So,
that's exciting. I
yeah.
I got out there a little bit and didn't do as much as I want. I found one shed. But again, half of an 8 point.
Hmm.
And then I did find a, I don't know, deadhead. I'd say he's probably about a 2 year old, which is not fun to see, but
Yep.
I didn't get out there, I wouldn't have found him. So just a couple things.
Yeah, sometimes it's nice to have them rather than wonder where they ended up to,
Right.
because there's so many deer that you get pictures of and then you don't know what happens to them or, they just disappear, it seems. It's nice to have a little bit of, I guess, closure, even though it sucks.
Yep.
I found a pretty good one on one of my clients this year that asked me to do a little shed hunting for him. Bear found it actually, and he was bummed out. But again, they were wondering where he went. Stopped getting pictures of him in like mid-December. They think the neighbors shot him because I guess they shot a good one. They said that they couldn't find. So when I didn't find it far from the property line, really. So probably could have been that one. But other than that, dude, that property has never been shed hunted. So I found some really old ones, like green and broken and
Wow.
moss covered and
Yep.
stuff like that, which is cool. And you and me found that one.
Yep.
Dad had that one time like that on a piece that we shed hunt every year, and somehow we'd walk by it for 5 years, probably 4 or 5 years. They had it whittled down to nothing, still got the moss on it and all that cool stuff that's in the office. But yeah, we couldn't even tell what deer it was because it was all chewed away.
There's an
And
old one.
yeah, definitely old. But no, shed hunting's good. I mean, it's come pretty much to an end now with the green up. You might get lucky and find one, but
Yeah.
hopefully you don't find one in a tractor tire.
Oh yeah,
That's been my biggest fear is to find one in a tractor tire.
that wouldn't be fun.
No, no bueno, no bueno. But yeah, other than that, fishing. That's what we need to do. We should go fishing again.
Yeah,
Last
it's
time we went, shoot, what was that? It had been 5 years ago, maybe.
been a while.
We were on Sodas, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And I hooked that nice largemouth.
Yep.
Yep. I don't know. He's probably might have been 4. He's all 3.
Big one.
Yeah, he's a nice bass.
So I haven't even been out yet this year. Hopefully, time allows it, and we'll be able to get out there together, and hopefully we can do
Well,
some
just send your
more.
dad a picture of one of them bottles and be like, "We need to go fishing."
Right. Right. Yeah.
We need to go fishing. We'll bring. I'll bring the liquid. We'll go fishing. But no, I'm thinking tomorrow or Friday with the 90 degrees coming. I'm gonna go walk the outlet and try to catch a couple smallies.
There you go.
I'm thinking, obviously I'm not keeping them, just catching them, throwing them back, stuff like that. But
Early morning or late evening or what do you?
after work,
Yeah.
been at work all day or whatever, and I'll, put my Crocs on and swim trunks, put a beer or two in the tackle box, little cooler that I carry off to the side, and you know, grab my little light spinning rod, my little 5 footer, and just go out there. Beetle spins is what I've been catching them on a lot down there at the outlet. Then I'll walk between like 1 or 2 bridges. Probably find somebody to go with me. Maybe Nate if he's not watching Owen, or maybe I'll call my buddy Brandon to come out or something like that, and we'll take a walk and do a little fishing between one of the bridges. We'll park the trucks at one of them, park the other truck at the other, and walk truck to truck.
Yeah.
And that way you just pick up and go and don't got to walk back on the roads. Emily says, speaking of deer, there's one right outside the back window in the backyard.
Can't get any better than that right there.
No, 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 fast food.
Yeah.
Walk up service. But no, there you go. There you go. So you been seeing any does in the backyard, or just been kind of
I would say we probably have at least 2 older does and a couple of the younger ones there with them. I've been following them around, so I'd say we'd have probably a good group of at least 6 of them that have been hanging around, which is really nice.
Well, you'll
It's
see
nice
the
to
little
see
ones.
that.
You'll see the little ones stumbling along behind them here before too long.
That's what I'm hoping within the next couple of weeks we'll get a couple of them.
Yeah, what was it? I think it was Sunday. Sunday I got done turkey hunting, and my dad called me. It was like, I don't know, 11:45. I called it for the day. And I just got to my truck, and he's like, "Hey, are you all back?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, when you come up the laneway, he's like, you got to go slow." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, there's a doe." She said, "She just laid down, and I think she's birthing a fawn right by the gate." And I said, "Okay." And so as I'm rolling out, I can just see her head in the lower section of grass. She's laying down. And so I came up there, we watched her get up, walk over. After she stood up, clean the little one, we could see what she was doing, not physically see her licking the fawn, but bending down, cleaning him up and stuff like that. And then she walked about 40 yards away, laid back down, popped another one out,
Wow.
and couldn't see it. It was like 3-4 foot tall grass. Just enough where you could see her head, or maybe see her ears in one spot where she was laying down with the one fawn. But then she kind of gathered them up after a couple hours, and we watched them, kind of wobble-legged, walk up behind her a little bit. She bedded one down here and took one away a little bit more and bedded that one down over there. So that was really cool. And like I said, I've seen a couple of them, out there turkey hunting too. I've just stumbled upon them. Like today, I stumbled on one that was just sitting, right in the middle of a little blowdown of trees, and then not like it was a couple years ago where I had the one that wanted to follow me around when I was turkey hunting. That little thing, freaking stumbling along behind me everywhere I turned around, and I literally walked back until he laid down where he was, and then I walked away and snuck away on him. Because like I said, I don't want mom to come back and him not to be there.
Right.
And I mean, he followed me a good 40, 50 yards,
Wow.
so I had to walk him back.
It's a long ways. Normally they just they see you and they lay down and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, that was 4 years ago. I'm wondering if that was the buck I shot this year up there with the bow.
Could be.
It could have been.
Could be. Yeah, I've seen this guy before.
Yeah. Hey, buddy. Long time no see. Yeah, it was right, actually, it's right up there by Topfield where I had that fawn follow me 4 or 5 years ago, and then I shot that nice buck up there this year, and it was a little button buck fawn. So it all comes full circle, but actually, he probably got shot by the neighbors as a 2-year-old, and 2 miles away or whatever he went to.
Yep.
Probably never saw that deer again. Uh, well, the misses are going back and forth in the comments. Thanks, girls. You guys are welcome to come out, or we need to come out to see you guys' place. I'm sure you've been working on it since the last time I was there, too.
Yeah, done a little bit, but there's more to do. Always.
Always, dude. Always. Yeah, we were talking, I think next time you come over, we were talking about it while we were setting this up and getting ready. I have an outdoor bar that I'm building now.
Oh.
For the summertime, we got my birthday party here, my 30th this year. I'll be 30. So we're doing that. And then, we talked about maybe having one of Hannah's family reunions here, get-togethers, other stuff like that. Just having people over in the summertime, relaxing, hanging out, and rather than bringing everybody down to the house or hold on, let me go down and make you a drink. People come over, you put 5, 6 bottles out there of your basic stuff, and you got your bases covered with some mixers or whatever way you want to drink.
Yeah, stays light so long too now, so that's what's nice.
Yeah, that and the bar serves an extra area to put food out.
Yep.
So win-win, win-win. Emily says, what's the best way to keep them out of my garden? A fence. Definitely a fence. Fence or planting stuff outside the fence that they're not really usually going to eat, like peppers. They don't really like peppers. But squash, they love squash. Love beans and peas. And the fence also keeps out your woodchucks and that kind of riprap and rabbits. So they can be a nightmare to deal with a garden. So we have ours fenced. It's like a 3-foot fence. We haven't had issues with deer jumping it. But if you do have issues with deer jumping it, come off about a foot. Come about halfway up your fence and just run a string line. The deer will get that with their depth and they can't figure it out, so they won't jump it if you do have them jumping it. So, and that's why you see with like hot fences and stuff, they got the outer strand.
Yep.
That's just for that depth. That screws with their depth perception.
It's a good tip.
So, yeah, so there's your anti-deer tip of the night.
Looks like I'll be putting up a fence.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be much, anything fancy. And with our garden, the way we found it's easier to maintain it and stuff like that too is we put down a roll of black plastic and then we cut in the spots for the plants, or we'll cut them out whatever way you want to do it, with the proper spacing, and then that way there's no weeding in between plants. Once they're up, you just weed them for the first couple weeks. Nice thing about that black tarp is anytime you water it, everything runs right to the plant.
Yeah.
So you don't got to deal with extra weeding, lack of water, or losing water when you water your garden. That's what we've been doing. Since I was a kid, my parents have always done a black tarped garden, and then I started doing it because I'm like, wow, this is so much better than bending down and trying to weed it out. Like when I had my place over in Lyons, or I was trying to till it up, make it nice, and you can still till it, and then you just put your plastic over it to plow it up, or however you prepare your seed bed. But a lot of times, I might just rotate it 180 degrees. That way the holes that were here are now over there, which aren't lined up with the same holes because different spacings. And then if we're buying or we started our own plants and we're not just putting seeds in, if we started our own plants, just cut your little plug out, put your plug right in the ground, and you're good there too. Same thing with your fertilizer. All you got to do is sprinkle a little bit around it, and it's right there at the plant. You don't got to spread it around the whole garden and lose a lot of it to just soil or other weeds. So that's how we do it. But
we'll give that a shot this year, hopefully.
yeah, like I said, it doesn't have to be fancy. Ours is just like little plain Jane, like 1x2 wire. I know some folks. It depends on what you have. I've seen people do it with like dog kennel, like a 10x10 or something like that. And if you're doing that kind of garden, and don't want to go huge with your fence, I've seen a lot of folks put a squash in there or something. I wouldn't recommend putting anything big and sprawly. That's made for like beans and peas and peppers and stuff like that. You put one squash in a 10x10, you could lose your whole 10x10 space to a squash. With squash, I've always found just put as many of them out there as you can, and they can't eat them all.
All right.
So I do like little mounds of compost and manure and soil that I mix up and do little mounds, and then we'll put in seeds all over the mound, mix it in, and then stuff like that. Also had another comment in from my mom and dad. My dad says couple strands of fishing line at belt high and chest high. Deer don't like that either, bumping into something they can't see. There's your prime anti-deer tips on the show tonight for keeping your garden protected. But yeah, and then woodchucks. Woodchucks are the biggest ones. Rabbits are not. I've never really had a lot of issues with rabbits, but if you get woodchucks, like they were the ones that did the number on our squash plants last year. They went through when they were right about nice 2 foot long, dude, and they just ate them all the way back.
Wow.
I got him. Went down there. He was chewing on one. I got him. Except for I gotta get this big gray one that hangs out here in the front yard now. He's the one that keeps digging the holes in the horse pasture and stuff. So, but yeah. Well, we're hitting that 56-minute, 1 hour mark. That's usually where I like to about cut them off. So, yeah. Anything else you think of, Clayton?
I think we covered quite a bit tonight.
Yeah.
I'll have to come back for another one.
Oh, yeah. We're just hanging out, talking, shooting the bull, answering questions when they come in. So, it's just informal, man. It's just a good time. It's an excuse to, help folks out and everything like that. And, like I said, always welcome to questions. I wish we could have kept the TikTok thing going, dude. We were having tons of people hanging out on that, but maybe we just won't put the whiskey in it next time. I don't know what the heck it was. Maybe it was the drinking. Maybe it was talking about hunting. I don't know. They just don't like us. Whatever. So thank you all for tuning in. This is your first time tuning in, head over to the YouTube side of things where all these episodes are posted after the fact. They'll be available there to watch parts of the episode you missed, past episodes, as well as all of our future episodes when we go live or post content. You can hit the subscribe button to get notified for all that good stuff. And if you like it, let us know in the comments what you didn't like maybe, or maybe some of the tips you got for your garden or habitat or food plots. We'd love to hear it and love to hear your feedback on it. And thanks again, Clay, for coming down. Actually, I'm going to put one little pour in this for a sign-off. Just one. Do you want the Coopers or you want the Russells?
I'm going to go with the Coopers.
Clay's going Coopers. I'm going Russells. So. Alrighty. Well, thank you, everyone at home. Thank you, Clay.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it, man. We'll catch y'all next time down here at the bar with the 100 Proof Whitetails podcast. Take care, guys. Cheers.